Marry me, Annie here. Welcome back to, I think I have absolutely lost track of what number on my question and answer videos that I'm having so much fun with. So let's take on some more questions. Mary Julie, I think I have your name right. I think you are someone new making comments on my videos. You asked me if I wore a pentacle. I don't really wear a pentacle in the sense of I consider it to be religious jewelry, and I wear it in circle or in meditation. I sometimes wear it when I am going to gather with like-minded friends as a celebration, more than anything of what we have in common. This is my pentacle. It is rather plain. I have no idea if we are going to get any of this on film. I'll take a separate picture of it and stick it in here if that didn't work. But as you can see, it's rather small. I'm not a wearer of jewelry, so I'm not someone... I wear the same earrings to work every day. So when I use jewelry, it is to effect when I am preparing for ritual. I have my priestess ring and my priestess necklace if I'm leading. But in my current circle, I have a certain necklace I wear, certain jewelry I do put on, including my pentacle. But I'm just not much for religious jewelry, just strutting my stuff and walking the world in it. I just have never been interested in that. I did come up in a time when you would never have thought about wearing your pentacle in public, so some of it might be that, but I think it's more about the fact that because when we were baby witches in my coming up, we didn't wear any outward sign of who we were, that putting that jewelry on became meaningful in another sense, and that's the sense I've held on to my joy of it, which is preparing for ritual, preparing for gatherings, the emotional relationship to it. It is not just putting on jewelry, and I only do it at certain times. I don't wear it all the time. I usually, and haven't recently because I need to buy a new chain, the big guy got me a little diamond that I wear. And that I do wear all the time. I almost always wear this ring because it has meaning to me, and of course I always wear my claddagh, which is turning sideways, but I always wear that. But I'm just not a jewelry person, so I do wear a pentacle, but I wear it with intent certain times and just don't put it on as a regular piece of jewelry. Matab113, Dear Roe, he asked me if I have a tattoo, and I guess we're all going to have to stay tuned to his channel because I guess he had a reason for asking me that question, so now I'm making it so he has no choice but to upload the video he was telling me about. I do not have a tattoo. I have one in my head. The big guy and I found a perfect one that I do want. I chickened out. I really wanted a tattoo for my 50th birthday to celebrate my 50th birthday, and the same thing happened for my 50th that happened to my 40th and my 30th. I thought, what if I change my mind? I can't wash it off. So I wasn't ready yet to put something as a permanent mark on my body. I do now have a tattoo that I plan on getting. It's going to go here, actually. The tattoo is spiritual to me, this one that I have selected, and it is for me. I don't care who else sees it or doesn't see it, and I debated where on my body I wanted to put it. And the inside of my wrist is where it's going to be. It's no bigger than a 50-cent piece. It's going to be right here. It's lunar and goddess oriented. Not so much that it will make other people uncomfortable who don't share our path, but I'm very much looking forward to it and getting to the point that we're just ready for me to get it done. The big guy and I are going to go and get it done. The when's not definite yet, but it's finally gotten to the point that I'm ready for a tattoo in the sense of that permanent symbol on my body. This is someone that I think I've gotten to know a little bit through Pagan Perspective, but we're only just beginning to have some communication with each other. Viva la Boheme 40, who is Arrow. And Arrow said, I always seem so calm, cool, and collected in my videos. Where Arrow says they are always angry at everything and don't know why. How do I view the world to make me so happy? And do I have any tips for Arrow? And Arrow, I apologize, I keep making you neither male nor female because I don't know you, so I don't know if you are male or female. So I took away all your pronouns. I apologize for that. I do have an optimistic outlook on life, Arrow. There is no doubt about it, and I grew into that in life. Someone not too awfully long ago in the cyber world actually told me that they thought that I presented very much like a Pollyanna kind of person, in a very unrealistic sense of seeing the good in the world. And their thought on why I was that way is I probably hadn't been tested. I probably had only had wonderful things happen to me, that I was the way I was out of innocence or naivete. I can certainly thank that person for honoring that. I hope I do still have within me the potential for innocence and naivete, that I'm in touch in some way with my inner child. However, that is not why I have a positive take on the world. The opposite of innocence and naivete is early on in life, very early on in life, I had some very traumatic things happen to me. And they seem to be a repeating pattern of unfortunate events that happened through childhood and into my young adult years. Truly, I'd say through my 30s. And there's no reason for me to share that in this venue, but they were the most terrible things that can happen to you as a woman and as a person. And as I was getting into 30s and 40s, I lost dear friends to horrible, horrible deaths. I lived with a friend who was in a coma for 6 months. One of my best friends. I had to watch her leave this world in that fashion. Buried too many loved ones. I shouldn't say too many. Buried loved ones. Have experienced great, great sadness. And through my life, it came to me that there was a choice in how we deal with the challenges, the sadnesses, the traumatic events of life, that it's our choice what we make of them, what we make of ourselves out of them. There were instances early in my years, terrible things happened to me in my teens and my early 20s, and it seemed about the time of my 30th birthday, looking back on them, I had a very real understanding that while when they happened, I didn't understand why there could be benefit to me. That looking back on them, a great many of them, either I realized how they changed me, made me different, shifted my life to a different path, and in some instances, and I'll use one of the examples of my life, I was terribly abused by my first husband. Violently abused to the point of being hospitalized, and out of that experience, when I freed myself of that relationship, I was a baby. I was only 18 years old, and I was truly beaten and scarred physically, not only mentally, for life. Out of that experience, I took on many, many years of volunteering to work in the women's underground, aiding women who have been abused and their children. So I know I made a difference in some other lives out of the experience I had. In addition to the fact of how I personally grew out of and became what I became out of that experience. So, Arrow, the only thing I can tell you is that I had the good luck that there were just a couple of instances in my life where unbelievably terrible things happened to me, or happened to loved ones. And I could see, if not then, not too far from then, that there may be some whys behind these things that happen that we cannot conceive when they happen. Not everything gets explained away in our lives that is unfortunate that happens to us or that we see happen to people we care about. But what I took from that is there's no doubt that every one of those instances, whether I ever understood what came out of them for me or did not, they all changed me. And that how I changed was my decision. To have let myself roll along on the tide of those unfortunate circumstances in my life would have been something very different from what I came to. I cannot tell you, Arrow, why I was able to get to that place. I do know in great part it was because of my spirituality, of the spiritual communities I have been involved with traditional Wicca, since I was in my early 20s. It has been my feeling of being loved by God and Goddess and having them in my life. I know that a big part of what it has been for me is no matter what happened, no matter what experience I had, I always knew that I was loved. I was loved by friends. I was loved by my community. I was loved by my God and Goddess. I know that was huge in how I dealt with those things. So my faith and my beliefs was a big part of that. I also think that when we have the kind of life that seems to get rained on pretty drastically, that we do appreciate the sunny days a lot more, only if we choose to. So the only thing I can tell you about how to handle it yourself is it is a choice. It is a choice how you face these things that happen to us and what you take away from them. And if you cannot take something away from them and you are struggling to find meaning, I have often disconnected myself from it and moved on. Because only at some point in the future, if then, do some of these things ever become a thing we understand and we know what changed in us because of them. Sometimes you just have to separate from them, knowing at that time we are not going to be able to figure it out. Sometimes later on we do, sometimes we do not. It's the only advice I have for you. There are beautiful sunny days in our lives, but we do have to choose to notice them. It is a choice that we have to make, and it is at times an extremely difficult thing to move beyond sadness and depression, to move beyond hurt, and step outside of all that and experience what there is that's good. I'll leave that for this series of questions, and I will think of you, Arrow, when I am in meditation, and I will send out there for you only if you choose to reach out for it. Thoughts of calm that you can reach out to in your moments of anger. I am quite sure that those moments of anger are not benefiting you. They're not benefiting your health. They're not benefiting your spirituality. They are inhibiting your growth in this life. I will gladly, in my next meditations, offer to the ether thoughts of calm that if you choose to reach out there for them, they are there for you, my friend. I wish you all mirth and reverence. Merry part.